Oh, Jesus. Okay. I think we're ready. Hello. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to be a bit of a dickhead because that's what I do. I can't get the lighting right, so I apologise if it's a bit washed out. It is what it is. Good morning. I'm looking a bit worse for wear this morning, but we'll get there. This is my coffee. Same old, same old. You know the drill by now. Talk shit for 5 minutes and hope that, eventually things happen. So I've been playing with formats a little bit. I want to try and get a little bit more structure to the videos, mostly because I need to be able to make clips. Like, it's just one of those things, but I also just I'm trying to work on more educational content. So it's one of those things where I'm trying to do, like, scripted content is just so much more work. It's like storyboarding, writing, filming, editing, continuity, all of that kind of stuff. So this video is just so that I keep doing it and don't neglect the YouTube channel, because I just get busy, and there's that weird gap, I think, when you first start, where there's no one watching, it's not monetized, I don't even know the value of it, but you just keep soldiering on and you just keep going. And so I'm feeling a little less shy, but at the same time I'm still, I think a little bit of momentum has been lost with this. So, but I'm doing the best I can to try and be consistent and try to produce content that is actually of value. So if I'm quiet, that's why. This is just my way of staying present so that I don't fucking lose interest in YouTube. So I've got a couple of things. I want to try and get more structure. So the first thing that I'm going to do is have a few little segments. If you've got any ideas for segments that you'd like me to talk about, I'd like them to be sort of that equal part rant, equal part serious, equal part just funny and stupid stuff. So and I will eventually get an open screen that's got actual hold music rather than me whistling while I fuck with settings. So anyway, it's always a bit of fun. So again, apologies for the bad light, apologies for the washing out, but I'm just fucked. I can't be bothered. So I was running late already. So welcome. Okay, so now I'm worried about talking about this because I really want to make sure that when I make content on contentious issues, especially ones that I feel particularly strongly about, I need to make sure that I am not misunderstood in terms of intent. Now, there's been a couple of issues in the trans community of late that I feel like I want to talk about, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to talk about it with sensitivity, but also fucking, I don't know, this is just a minefield. It's at the point where I feel like excuse me, gravelly voice. It's at the point where I feel like I can't win. People aren't paying attention to this, and people actually find it kind of boring. And I have a feeling that maybe it's something that just needs to play out, and then I can say, hey, told you so. But there's some real issues right now. One of the things that has come to my attention this week, which again, I've gone, because every time you talk about this stuff, you get a rod in your back. It's one of those things. It just instant rod in your back, and I don't have time for this shit. But at the same time, it really needs to be talked about, because as somebody who is on the spectrum, but also a parent of a child on the spectrum, and the friend of many parents of children who are autistic in varying degrees and varying ways in the spectrum, it's really, really important to understand that autism and this gender debate are intrinsically linked to each other at the moment. What we've got is an at-risk population, as it is, in terms of, being vulnerable. But that, again, this is a fucking landmine. I don't know how to even start. But, okay. Increasingly, we're finding out that young girls who are on the spectrum, autistic, struggling with their body, as they will, right? As teenage girls, that's one of those things that they are. There is a social contagion, and that is not to dismiss trans issues. I want to be very careful about the way that I want to do this with sensitivity, as I have said a few times. But it's really important that parents understand the kinds of messaging that their children are receiving at the moment. Now, I haven't really been able to find information about safe schools in Australia, but I would imagine that they're being taught very similar things. But there is a charity in the UK who has come under a lot of fire lately, and they have the ear of government, the ear of schools, and they are called Mermaids. And they have a very questionable reputation for things like promoting transgenderism within schools. So not just supporting it, but actively promoting it. Doing some of the being behind some of the uglier tactics that fucking hell, I don't even know what to say. No matter what you say, you're going to get attacked. It's just one of those things. And this is why I fucking sit here going, what the fuck? Anyway, there's been several cases with this charity in particular where they have... I want this to be separate from the idea of affirming care, okay? These are separate issues. But there is affirming, and then there is promoting, and there is actively pursuing this. Now, it's come to my attention that Mermaids have been running targeted commercials on gaming ads, on gaming channels, and just, broadly targeted with gaming themes, and all those sorts of things. Let me rephrase that for editing purposes. It's come to my attention that Mermaids have been... they've undergone... I wish I could just show you the ad, but unfortunately it's just one of those things where I'll get a copyright strike if I try, and I don't need that shit. But what they've been doing, I'll put a link to the ad, and anyone who is the parent of an autistic teen will find this extremely... should be finding this concerning. It's one thing if a child is struggling with various issues and they need care. It's another thing to proactively promote that a child, or put ideas into a kid's head that could have other answers, such as that all I do is fucking stammer. This is how scared these people make us. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so Mermaids in the UK, let me start again. Mermaids in the UK are running targeted advertising campaigns, paid, on YouTube channels, predominantly gaming and gaming themed, aimed towards young girls and other teens. I don't know if they've been running one towards boys, but it wouldn't surprise me. It seems to me like they've seen an opportunity with young girls, particularly, to promote the idea that if you are somehow socially isolated or autistic or not fitting in or struggling with your identity, which, all teenage girls do, that you are probably trans, okay? That Mermaids have been known to have a kid who rocks up. If a kid rocks up at a gender clinic, they can get hormones pretty much the same day. They've been heavily criticised for this. They were also very controversial in involving themselves in a custody dispute between a mother and father, because the mother was insisting that their child was a girl, and he was actually a boy, and the father took action, and Mermaids were instrumental in making sure that that the father was alienated from that child. He then won that case. So I can provide links for that. I just have to be very. It's important. My stammering is not because I don't know what I'm saying. My stammering is because I'm fucking scared of saying the wrong thing, and I just get baseball bats at my front door. This is the reality of the situation. But I think it warrants conversation just to those parents who have autistic kids and whose kids are in high school, just to check what's being taught, because it is actually something that is concerning to me, knowing how vulnerable the autistic population is, knowing that if I was a teenage girl now, I would probably be convinced that I was trans, because I have never fit in and I have never really felt very feminine, whatever that means. And so I think this is something that just really strikes, it's near and dear to me as an issue, because I can see the writing on the wall, right? This week we've had a very, well, I've been sharing this stuff, so if you're watching, but, you know, I need more coffee. I fucking need more coffee today. Sorry. I apologize for this being a terrible fucking stream. Oh my God, okay. I'm sorry, I'm just not at it. I thought I'd do a live stream, but I'm just low energy. I got burnt out to fuck you. Anyway, so I'm not doing this story the justice that it needs, so I might just recreate something a bit better, a bit tighter later. But I just want to talk about it because I think it's really, I think it's something that is just becoming a matter of urgency. And if you're not aware of this issue, you need to be aware of it and start exercising some of your remaining legal rights as a parent to conscientiously object to this type of stuff. Okay, so again, I'm not opposed to the intent of giving children affirming care. I'm not opposed to the idea of sex ed or gender. There's none of that. This isn't a fucking, despite the narrative that is being spread, this is not about, this is not a conservative view of, you know, not teaching healthy sex and all that sort of stuff, sex ed. This is actually one step further from that, which is where an organisation that clearly has a specific outcome and a specific agenda, very well funded, very powerful, very ruthless, which is why I'm stuttering. And again, this is in the UK, but it's bleeding over into Australia as well. So this sort of stuff is here, but if you're not a parent of autistic children, just pay attention to what they're being taught about gender and sexuality, because they are... Let me show you the slide. Hang on one sec. Let me just fucking... I may as well just show it. I wasn't going to, because I don't want to get into like copyright fucking hell, but there's no way I keep talking around this, and there's no way to do it without actually showing what's going on. So... all right, YouTube gods, don't tell me off. This is the shit that they're showing kids in school, okay? Now, if you're a parent of a kid... Sorry, hang on, let me just fuck around with things. Okay, if you're the parent of an autistic kid or a kid who's struggling with their mental health, right? Sorry, one sec, there we go. You need to be aware of this stuff. This is a slide. This is a presentation that Mermaids have been putting in schools, okay? So you aren't autistic just because you're autistic. Autism is represented, you might have had a diagnosis of autism, but you're really trans, right? You might have ADHD, of which I have that as well, but it's not ADHD, you're trans, okay? Feelings of uncertainty, right? Decreased gender dysphoria. So not like this is the stuff, right? And if you break this down, look at this. What teenager doesn't feel at least 80% of this at some point during puberty? If they don't, then there's something wrong, right? Ignoring the ADHD and the actual diagnosed conditions. But depression and anxiety. I mean, it's 2019 and they've told the world's ending. Most kids are feeling depression and anxiety at this point. Poor academic achievement, well, okay. That's a structural problem with the schools and resources, okay? Poor family relationships. That means you're trans, right? Isolation, frustration or anger, avoidance of social experiences and dating. In Tinder culture, who wouldn't what teenager wouldn't find dating culture horrific when young boys are talking about choking and anal sex as normal, right? This is the stuff that we need to start looking at. Unexplainable feelings of not fitting in. Welcome to being a teenager. Guilty or ashamed, feeling lonely. Again, and this is the stuff that is being, and again, I'm not discounting the headline where it says it may present, but what they do is they put this plausible deniability in, and the fact that they have said that you have had a diagnosis of ADHD, well, what kid doesn't want to be autistic? No, sorry, what kid wants to be autistic? What kid isn't looking for any other alternative than a lifetime of feeling like shit, right? Or socially isolated, or, feeling like they don't fit in. Like, this is the thing, this is the reality of what's actually being taught, right? This is one of the slides. I find this just, in and of itself, this slide is fine, okay? Again, in context, it's just the pattern, the fact, and I wish I could show the ad, but I know they'll just fucking give me a frivolous copyright strike, so there's no point. But I quite like having my channel. I don't know if you probably think that I should lose it because this is fucking disorganized, fucking live streaming. But at the same time, people need to be aware that a young and vulnerable autistic girl could see this having normal feelings about isolation and loneliness and body dysmorphia and, bad family life or disconnection, or have a diagnosis of ADD and autism, and they might actually think that they are trans. Again, they very well might be, right? But Mermaids in particular is where I want to start, because what they're actually doing is running targeted ads at YouTube. And I said this before, right? So I will link to the video. I was going to play it in the stream, but it's just not worth the fucking risk. But basically what they've done is they have shown a young trans boy, right? Who talks about how they finally admitted to themselves that they were trans. It's got a video game theme. It is targeted at gaming channels and those kids who are generally often on the spectrum, like, kids with autism are often, I'm not saying only kids with autism are drawn to gaming, but this is cleverly designed, right? Now, when you put that into the context of the fact that if you actually go, okay, I think I'm trans, right? If that happens, like a 14-year-old kid, okay, goes home and says, Mum, I've seen this slide, I think I'm trans. Mum can't do anything, all right? You need to see this ad, because basically the ad is just like, oh, well, my mum went to Mermaids and they talked her into it, and Mum just loves me anyway. And just complete propaganda, right? Absolute propaganda. And it's quite disturbing. And when you understand how this stuff is targeted, you know that this is actually quite deliberate, and it's a shit show. It's a disaster waiting to happen, and I have to say something about it, because I do know a lot of people with autistic kids, and I have one. Thankfully, he's homeschooled, so I can control some of the information that's getting his way. But this is the reality of the situation. If your kid is watching YouTube, pay for premium so they don't get ads. It's getting to that point where you make sure you put an ad blocker on, because you need to be able to control the propaganda that these kids are getting, okay? Now, this is not your standard gender clinic. This is a very well-funded, very influential, very nasty, very knee-jerk, organization where if a kid goes there and says, I'm trans, they can basically go with a script for puberty blockers and hormones within the same day. And if the parent questions it, they will do everything in their power to make sure that that child is alienated from the parent. These are the people that are like, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Again, I'm not disputing the need for actual treatment or consulting with a actual therapist on this stuff. But mermaids are fucking awful. You need to understand the people that are behind this. They are pushing for transition of children. They are pushing ideas that are just foolhardy and just, they alienate parents from children. And this is evil, evil, evil stuff. Okay? It's really important that people start paying attention to this. Okay? And I know that, I'm sitting in the grey here. I'm not sitting here saying that children can't be trans. I'm saying that there's a lot of just fucking awful shit that parents need to be made aware of, which is, like obviously in Australia we've got safe schools, which are currently at 15. We were told this by my stepdaughter. We only knew about it because my stepdaughter mentioned it. But, they're basically saying you can do what you want. You can get your own Medicare card. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell your parents. We'll just support you. And that's again a good thing for LGBT kids. However, what if the kid's wrong? What if the parent knows the kid well, right? There needs to be, we need to pause. And I don't mean pause with puberty blockers. I mean pause and think about the actual harm, okay? Studies are coming out that are showing the damage that is, the side effects of puberty blockers and testosterone in young girls. Young girls are wearing binders, right? It's just, I don't know how to emphasize this anymore. I really don't know how to emphasize this anymore, that where people will actually say, you know what, under the banner of LGBT and safe schools and all of those lovely, great things, this insidious, dangerous fucking ideology is slipping through, and it is going to cause harm to a generation of kids, and increasingly a generation of young girls who are going to be sterilized and have mastectomies, right? This is fucking serious. And it's going to be autistic girls that suffer. And as one of those who grew into a fully fledged adult, I was a weird kid who grew into a weird adult. Again, this needs thought. It needs thought. It's really, really important. And this is where I think a lot of the confusion lies, which is that I'm not opposed, I've never been, fucking, regardless of what anyone says, whatever idiots on the internet say, I've never been like transphobic. I don't give a shit, okay? I care about kids and kids making medical decisions that they're not equipped to make. I care about child abuse in the form of parental alienation, which is effectively what mermaids do, right? If you don't completely affirm that so what they do is they put the idea into the kid's head that they're trans. They say they're trans and the parent can't say or do anything, right? The fact that they're doing targeted marketing is just insane. It's immoral, it is unethical, and it should be illegal as far as I'm concerned. And I think that this people need to wake up about this. It shouldn't be me talking about this. This should be journalists. This should be fucking doctors and psychologists, and it shouldn't be me, the mother, looking crazy talking about this. This is happening, and I want it on the record. When a generation of young girls are fucking left sterile and with fucking cancers and, inability to fucking have children, that you heard it from me first, okay? It's so frustrating. I'm so fucking fed up with this shit. This isn't transphobia. This is just reality. It's a train wreck, okay? And this is where things like, again, this is not about pragmatic solutions or funding or gatekeeping or anything like that, or the real problems that trans people face. This is about what has slipped in through things like self-ID, through the transing of children, through charities like Mermaids, who I'm sure think that they're doing the right thing, but it's not the right thing. Okay? I can't believe I have to say this. Don't chop your dick off, okay? Don't chop your kid's dick off without thinking about it first, okay? This is scarily cult-like. And anybody who, like me, anybody who dissents and has an issue with any of this is deemed a TERF and harassed and abused and deplatformed and blocked and, you know, all that sort of stuff, because it makes people uncomfortable. And I don't give a fuck if it makes people uncomfortable. They should be uncomfortable with this. If you're not uncomfortable with targeted ads at children who are vulnerable and at risk and on the spectrum, just watching like videos about gaming on YouTube, and they're receiving ads that suggest that they might be trans when they're not, they're just fucking autistic, then there's something wrong with you if you're not bothered by this, right? I don't understand why you can't be bothered by this, okay? Anyway, so I've ranted too long about this because that's what I do. I go too long. But it warrants... I'm going to link to the video because it'll give you some context. Anybody who works in comms or, that sort of thing, will see what's going on here, right? Just look at the language. Look at the language that's used. Look at the persuasive, look at they never actually say... It's just incredibly worrying, you know? And I think it's worth asking precisely what your kid is being taught. I really think it's worth it. So, this is one of those things where I feel like I have to say something, even if it's inarticulate and there's not enough caffeine to make me speak succinctly about it. But I feel like I have to say something about it. Even if it costs me everything, it's just so important. I don't understand why everyone is asleep on this one, because they might offend some fucking imaginary person that doesn't really exist. Because most transsexuals are opposed to this as well. It's only the fucking... Anyway, I didn't want to talk about it too long. I'm fucking done. I'm moving on. Nobody's asking me any questions, so I'm just going to move on. Fuck it. Anyway, we're going to move on to self-ID, because I'm just going to laugh at something, okay? Because I know I'm just going to get the trans shit out of the way, because there's just so much going on at the moment and I look crazy. But there is a YouTuber called, I can't remember her name because I never watch her fucking stuff, but her name is called, where is it? Hang on, let me bring up the freaking thing. Trisha Paytas, right? Now, this was something that I think it was quite enlightening to see what happened, right? Because this YouTuber, I don't know who she is. I don't really, I don't care. But basically this woman came out, or man, she's a man, according to the rules. She identifies as a man, so he came out as transgender and said that he was a gay man. And the LGBT community lost their minds because apparently they are not legitimately trans, which I find interesting because every man that has done this, let me just rally off some names for you, shall I? Karen White, rapist, said she was a woman, went into a prison, reoffended. Danielle Moscato has a beard, said they were a woman. Jamil, everyone's favourite woke psycho, has been putting Danielle Moscato. Why don't you Google that name? See what you say. These are all men. Jessica Yaniv. Sam Smith. Rachel McKinnon. Right? These are all formerly men who have come out as trans or non-binary. And everybody was lauding them as stunning and brave, right? Including Yaniv, who is a predator, right? Filmed this week shooting pepper spray in a women's toilet, right? Karen White, like I said before, a racist. Yeah, Sam Smith, opportunist, whatever, okay? I'm heading into hate speech territory now. Look, okay, let me qualify what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that transition isn't uncomfortable, right? There's that period where you look like a man and you transition into female, and to be fair, that's cool. But, why is a woman? It just seems very strange that all of these men have said they're women with no fucking gatekeeping at all, and they're heralded, right? This woman comes out, or man. I'm sorry, according to your rules, she's a man. This is the problem with self-ID. This is precisely the problem with self-ID. It's got nothing to do with whether you're trans. It's got everything to do with the fucking hypocrisy of the movement, which is the fact that any man can say they're a woman or non-binary and shit all over women, and no question. One woman turns around and says, well, I identify as a gay man, and they lose their minds and say, you're not really trans. Well, which is it? Okay, so you self-ID is your rule. Okay, if you say you are, you are. Cool. So according to those rules, you're not allowed to criticize this woman anymore. Okay, so she had to backtrack and all of this stuff. Right, I'll link to the videos. I find this stuff so fucking stupid and exhausting. If I'm honest with you, you know what? I'm fucking over this. It's stupid. You know, if it didn't do so much damage, I'd just sit there and go, you know what? Fuck you all. I'm just not going to go. I'm just going to let this blow over. Just do it. Go for it. Okay? The only reason I get so fucking upset and animated about this is because of what I talked about before with children, and because women's prisons and shelters. It's not, that's it. The fact that any man can just say I am and go into a woman's space, but one YouTuber says, oh, well, I identify as a gay man, and everyone loses their fucking minds. Well, again, which is it? These are your rules. This is what self-ID is, okay? I'm going to start identifying as a man whenever it suits me too, okay? Because I'm more masculine than her, or him. I'm more masculine than him, and he's a he, until further notice. Because that's the rules, that's the law, that's what the law says, and that's the problem. We're talking about the law, we're not talking about the people. We're talking about the loopholes that the law creates, right? Where you can just say that you are a thing, and you can just be a dude with a full beard and no fucking change, and shit all over women and children. It's not okay. So which is it, okay? Because you're the ones calling us transphobes for merely pointing that out when a man does it, or a biological man does it. So I think it's time that we decided which is which, and that maybe some gatekeeping is actually not a bad thing. Okay, now gatekeeping is designed to prevent precisely this shit. Okay, some gatekeeping is good. That doesn't mean that we need to make that gatekeeping difficult. But you still should see a medical professional. You still should see somebody who does a differential diagnosis of, ruling out autism and BPD and other personality disorders, and sees transition as a last resort, not a fucking lifestyle choice. Okay? There is a real loophole here, really created, right, where lesbians and feminists and everybody are being deplatformed and silenced and fucking yelled at and screamed at. There's footage, I don't want to show you the footage, but I can link to it, of women being screamed at with a megaphone by a dude with a dress on for talking about her right to speak as a woman, being told to shut up, homophobe, to a lesbian. Okay? It's just to a lesbian who had her kids taken away because she was gay. Having a man scream with a megaphone, go shut up homophobe, go home homophobe. This is not okay. This is male violence in a fucking dress. People need to pay attention to this. And I'm not going to shut up about it until fucking journalists start doing their job. Because none of them are, because they're too afraid. Well, I'm not afraid. Fucking, I'm the boss fight. Come at me, fuckers. Anyway, that sounds really mean. I didn't mean to sound mean. I wanted to be fun and light. But I just get so riled up. Oh, excuse me. Spat all over everyone. I get so riled up about this because it is just, I don't understand the dissonance. I don't understand how you can hold this true and still see the blatant misogyny and the blatant hypocrisy and the just sheer blindness, willful fucking blindness over this issue, and still think that you're on the right side of history, right? Using hysterical fucking trans people are killed every day. They are not. Okay? Do you want some stats? Okay? There are about 350 people killed worldwide who are trans, right? About what? Is it 50-60% of those are in Brazil, okay? Which is different. Okay, in the UK, I think it's about 7 have died, okay? In Australia, I could only get like a handful, okay? In a decade, a handful. And of those people that have been murdered, they were murdered not because they were trans. They were murdered because they were sex workers, or they were murdered by a spouse. All male violence. All issues of male violence. Not transphobia, not women questioning self-ID, okay? These crimes were caused by men. Dangerous men who will use any fucking loophole to their advantage to hurt women. Listen to me. It's not about the toilets. Piss where you want, okay? This is about safety and law and the meaning of sex versus the meaning of gender. It's not difficult, okay? I'm going to get in big trouble for this video. But someone needs to be fucking saying this, because I don't know what these fucking, I don't understand it, you know? There's a whole bunch. Is it just every day you hear of a young girl who's gone into joined Tumblr and gotten into this fucking spiral of, thinking that she's trans only to detransition later. That's about 80%. About 80% of teenagers who think that they're trans actually are not, and they detransition later. That's 80, again, 20% continue. That's cool, all right? Again, this is the separate things. But we need to look at the harm that's being done, right? Anyway, I didn't expect this to be a fucking anti-trans rant for half an hour. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. I get animated about this because I think that it's just such a big... I just don't understand what's going on with people where they're not outraged. This is a medical disaster. This is a massively negligent, and staying quiet about this stuff, especially if you're my friend and you've got kids with autism, just pay attention, okay? That's all. Just pay attention, okay? That's all I ask. One more thing. I was going to rant about other things, but I'm all animated now. This one's an announcement from Vice, who are chief propagandists for the Church of Woke. Apparently sex tourism isn't just for straight white guys anymore, right? Sex tourism. Sex trafficking of young women and young boys who are all, young girls who are sold into prostitution. Everyone talks about the red light district in Amsterdam, but most of the people in there are, they're trafficked, right? This is something that we need to address. This is not empowering. This is not feminism. This is not woke. Okay? This is a male movement. that promotes porn and prostitution and harm to women and children. I'm done with this woke shit. This is why I can't fucking... You've lost your minds, everyone. No one's watching this who's woke anyway. It's only people who are like critical of this anyway that are probably watching this. But at the same time, it warrants... you really need to understand what's going on here and see it and start speaking up. Okay? They're selling this as they're selling sex tourism as a lifestyle choice that you're just going and that it's all consensual and that it's all lovely. It's not. Okay? This is ground zero for the exploitation of girls and women. Okay? This, how you can support this and think that this is at all empowering for women. You know, this is so fucking white, you have no idea. You know, this isn't a middle-class white woman making extra cash being a cam girl. This is harmful, right? An entire industry that is supported and propped up by Vice magazine, who are apparently all about social justice. It's just fucking insane. Anyway, I got angry. I just don't understand what the fuck is wrong with people. How do you not see what's going on with this fucking woke bullshit? It's a massive distraction. That prostitution is empowering and that porn is empowering, and just willfully, again, turning a blind eye to the actual harm that's being done to women. It's astonishing, absolutely astonishing that people that I thought were fairly intelligent and fairly empathetic are falling for this shit hook, line and sinker under the guise of choice and empowerment. No. It's exploitation. Anyway, it beggars belief. I don't care. If women do it, it's woke, right? Men do it, it's dirty and disgusting. No. I'm sorry. Anyway. I don't know. What else was I going to do? I think I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm finding this annoying. I'm getting angry. There weren't any questions anyway. And it's been 40 minutes, so that's my hate speech for the day. It was meant to be analytical, but it's fucking crazy. I'll put the videos that I'm talking about in the notes, but yeah. Wake up. I shouldn't be the person talking about this. This isn't my job. It's not my job to be the person that talks about this stuff, because it makes me look makes me look bad. So all I'm asking is to share the load a little bit. For those that aren't speaking out or aren't paying attention, help me out. Help me not be the only fucking person who sees this stuff for what it is and actually pay attention. Okay? This is running roughshod over women's rights, gay rights, lesbian rights, bisexual rights, children's rights, all of these things. And you just seem to use these bunk murder stats for what is, and just turn a blind eye to all the vile threats and harassment and deplatforming and all of the name calling and the... that's not compassion. It's not. My love might be tough love, but it's fucking still love. And I don't want to see a generation of young girls and boys, effectively castrated and sterilised. And I don't want to see a roughshod over hundreds of years of women's rights, all because a dude with a boner feels that he's entitled to everything that he wants. That's not okay. Anyway, sorry for preaching. This was supposed to be friendly. I'll try to do something a bit nicer. I don't even know if I should keep this one up because it's I'll rewatch it and see. You know I love you. You know I'm a good person. You know I'm trying. I just get this particular issue is something that it just... Once you see this, it's a house of cards. Woke is not left. Woke is not compassionate. Woke is not progressive. Woke is regressive. Porn is not feminist. Okay? Anyway. Sorry. I'm in trouble. Bye!